Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a second look, kind of an update video on the dumpster special Squier that I picked up, a week or so ago. Be the last video. If you hadn't seen it, go back and look at it, kind of see what we had to start with. So the updates I've got is got the body stripped down. So got it down. Looks like it's a 4-piece body, really light. I don't know exactly what kind of wood it is. I don't think it's basswood. It could be. It's got too much grain. Usually basswood's really just white and plain looking, so not sure about it. There's a lot of different types of wood that they use on these Chinese guitars, so not really sure. I didn't get the paint out of the putrid purple. I didn't get it out of the tremolo cavity. I'm just going to paint over it, and if it flakes off and shows a little purple through there, then that'll kind of be pretty neat. I started to leave, I'm going to do this relic type thing. I started to leave part of the purple and paint over it and kind of have the purple wiring through, kind of Fender custom shop looking, and that purple to me is just hideous. I mean, it's just, I can't stand it. So, that's just my thing. So anyway, what I use to do this is an orbital sander with 100 grit paper. So you got to get pretty aggressive with these poly finishes to get cut through it. You got to use some caution on the curves and stuff with using a sander. And the one I've got's a rigid 5/8 sander that's got the variable speed, so you can slow it down and work it a little easier. But what I'm going to do is go back, and I've still got some grain filler on here. Go back with 220 and finish this up with 220. Then we'll be ready for paint. So that's that. So the other thing that I've done is I worked on the neck a little bit, and I think I don't know if I've done it in the last video or not, but anyway, got the frets all level, polished, the fret ends all done, nice. So I did start kind of aging the back of the neck just a little bit. You can kind of see how it's I'm not done with it. That's just the start. And the way I do that is I sand down through the clear and get down to the wood, and then I use a mixture of steel wool and vinegar to get this gray shade. So I'll probably come back with some brown stain, a little bit of this, that, and the other that I mix up and kind of, make that look a little better. But that's just a start. But that's how you get that gray. When you put it on, you don't think it's going to do anything, but if you give it just a little bit, it'll start to change color. So that's going to look pretty neat. I think you can see it's going to look kind of nice when I get done. I've got to decide on the headstock, what I'm going to do on that as far as any kind of aged look or anything like that. So anyway, that is that part of it. So let me move the camera around and we'll get to some of this other stuff. Okay, I've started working on aging the hardwire. I've got our input plate, and it looked like new, and this is the way it looks now. It's kind of definitely got a little patina about it. The neck plate, and you can still see Squier right there. but that's got a little aging done to it as well. Our claw, we got it kind of fixed up. And I do that using acid. I've got a video on it, and it's really not good video. I'm going to redo it at some point. But here's the springs. I'm not trying to just make something just totally rusty. I just want it to look like it's been around a while. That's probably a little overdone. And if you use the acid, you got to be careful because it'll actually, even after you submerge it in water, it'll still it'll still do a little more even after that. So I almost overcooked it, but it'll be okay. We got our strap lock buttons, and they're kind of tarnished looking. I don't know how much that's going to show up, but they're not overdone. The screws, they're not overdone. And the way I do that is I take like 220 grit paper and just, rub the head to kind of rough up the top. And then, like with these screws, I didn't leave them that long. I'm not worried about the threads. Just like the bridge screws, I just want to take the shine more or less off of them, not just totally just rust it out. But I've still got to do our trim, and I actually had looked at one on Guitar Fetish that was already relic, that had the traditional style saddles, and it just didn't, the picture they had, it just didn't look. I can do better. I guess is what I'm saying. I really don't want to use these type saddles because it's not going to really look the part, but it's an Infinity Squier. It's not, custom shop Fender. So that's kind of the hardware done. I did do the tuners. The pegs kind of aged a little, but I'm gonna have to take a Dremel probably and go back in and rough them up and let them go through another round. So that's where I'm at with that. So that's pretty much the hardware. If I can move this out of the way. Okay. On the pick guard, and this is going to be hard for the camera to show. I can already tell it's not going to show. It's showing it really looking white. Maybe, okay, here's one. This is what the one that I worked on looked like originally. That's how white. So you can kind of see the comparison right there of how much it's aged, got it aged. What the key to that with the plastics is, you got to have a surface that'll take stain or will take whatever. When they're new, they're really slick. What I'd use is 800 grit paper, and I just sand the whole pick guard or the pickup covers. It's best to do it outside. I don't know, sunlight, you can really see the shine easier than artificial light, and get everything really rough. And the 800 grit won't leave the marks. It'll just make the surface to where it will adhere to either stain or shoe polish, whatever you want to use. Let's see if I got. And like I say, this is one of the original pickups, and I'm gonna get to that here in a second. Okay, this is one of the original pickups, and you see it's got the two magnets with the pole pieces. And what I've found is actually found some Anico pickups. I don't know if they're twos or what. I think these came out of a Squier standard is where I think these came from. So that's a little upgrade. And so what I done is I measured the stock, against the ones I replaced it with. And you can see the difference. The neck and the stock was a 383. The neck and the replacement's a 530. And then 572, 568, 373, and a 536. So, we've upped our DC resistance quite a bit. So it should actually be an improvement over the stock pickups. Although I played it with rusty strings and they only had 4 strings on it, but they didn't sound particularly bad. We're just using the stock import switch pots. The pots were really scratchy feeling, grainy, scratchy feeling, and really what that was, just all that was is the knobs were pushed down on, flush with the scratch plate, and there was a lot of grit, dirt, sand, stuff like that under the knobs. It made them. So when I had all this down, and this is also another pick guard. I may have failed to mention that, but this is a 3-ply, whereas the other one was just a single ply with the oldest goo sticker stuff on it and everything. So this is one I had laying around. So that's what I'm using. So, and then like aging the tone and volume knobs, I use just roughed them up, like I say, with 800 grit paper, and used a dark walnut stain to get this color. So it don't really show on the camera. It's a lot darker than what it shows. And then the pickup screws have been aged. The switch screws and all that's been aged. And that's not crazy looking. That's not just we're not going full out extreme relic deal. We're looking more of an aged look rather than something beat up and rusted like it's been left in the barn. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I've got a box of goodies here that came today. And let's see what's in here. Okay. I've got 2 bone nuts. And one is for my Stevie Ray Vaughan, and one is for this guitar. I don't think I've got a 40 in nothing here, so I had to and a bone nut. What's a couple of bucks, man? We're gonna put a bone nut on this thing, so that's gonna be good. Picked up the premium wiring harness kit for a Strat through Guitar Fetish. This is for another project. Something to note about with Guitar Fetish is their standard stock kits are just a few bucks less than this. I mean, you can buy this with it's got the cloth covered wire, the big pots, man, a good switch. It's just, it's already put together. It's actually even got a connector to connect the jack. Now, a lot of times your hole that's drilled into your input jack cavity or output jack cavity, these connectors won't fit through those holes a lot of times. So I usually don't use these, but if you've got enough room, you can. But anyway, and something also to say about this is this will not fit the guitar we're working on. This will not fit an Affinity without modification. So I'll try to, if I can find what I've done with the body. What you have to do, these switches, and I don't have one handy that's out of the pack, that's by itself. These guitars are not full thickness. They're not gonna that switch won't clear right here. You have to take some material out right here. And you don't have a whole lot right there to work with. I mean, you've got enough, but you got to really be careful of the Dremel or whatever you're using not to go completely through the body. But you have to clearance that, and you can bend those ears down on the switch. That helps too. But right through here is where you're going to have a problem. Those bigger pots, once they're mounted in that pick guard, will not fit in here. You have to remove some of this material around through here to make the pots fit. Now, they will fit once you do that, but you have to remove some of this material right here in order for them to work. So that's just something to keep in mind. And don't think I said, oh, order this and it won't fit your guitar. You got to change these type guitars. You have to do a little work on the cavity. So anyway, that's just that. Okay, back to our little box here. Picked up this. I'm gonna get it out this. I know this ain't related to the guitar we're working on, but this is gonna be in video coming up really, really soon because I think I've got everything I need. And I've got a nice AliExpress Chinese Stevie Ray Vaughan #1, and it came with a #1 trim. I mean, a real #1 trim. It's just, I mean, when we get into that project, I'll show you. But on it, the Chinese, it was just a piece of stamped steel. It wasn't. It was really thin. But I did put a big block on it, so I'm going to remove this block. Although this one feels pretty good, I'm going to put the big block on it. But this is a left-hand trim for that Stevie Ray Vaughan. So I've got that. I got the bone nut. I've got the clay dot inlays. And also, I've got a set of Fender, the classic style Fender tuners to go on it, because the ones that are on it are not they look correct from the back, but the front, they have the wrong, the shaft is like this. The string goes through the side instead of loading through the top like they're supposed to. They actually hold tune very well, but anyway, I wanted the real thing, so I can't wait to put that into acid, and this too. So I may leave this shiny. I think on his #1, the one he ended up with was really shiny, which on his #1, he took this style off. They had the Fender with the pearloid buttons. Thought about putting those on there, but I didn't ever like the looks of them on there. So anyway, that's kind of a update on what we got going on and some of the stuff we're going to have, because like I say, I've got everything I need now to pull that Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar down and finish upgrading. So that's going to be something we're going to get into, but I'm going to try to get this thing put back together, get this trim, do a little aging on it, and so anyway, that's about it. We'll be ready for paint. We'll be ready to start reconstructing before long. So anyway, appreciate everybody, all the subscribers. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider that. It helped me out a little bit, try to get my numbers up. So if you like this project, this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you think I ain't got no business doing this, give me a thumbs down. So anyway, until the next time, see you.